an example here. The average size of a farm in Indiana County is given, and the average farm in Greene County is given. So what we want to do is we want to test the situation here, and what they're asking is there enough information to decide that there's a difference here? So what I want you to do is mark down your mu1 and your mu2, set up your null and your alternative hypothesis, and then label everything, x bar 1, s1, and so on and so forth. Pause the video and come back when you're ready. So hopefully this is set up you got. Since we're looking at is there a difference, we're just looking at not equal to. Went over here, marked everything down, and again, I know it's easy to skip this step and jump right into finding your test statistic and your critical. Go ahead and write that stuff down just to organize yourself. So now let's go through and find our test statistic and our critical value. Keep in mind this is almost identical to what we did regarding the z, except you need to think about how you're going to get your degrees of freedom, and we just talked about that. Your degrees of freedom, you're going to take your smaller sample size, whichever one that happens to be, and subtract 1. So my degrees of freedom in this question is going to be 7. And the reason we do that is we're erring on the side of caution by going with the lower degrees of freedom. That's going to give us a critical value that's higher, allowing for less chance of a mistake. So go ahead and write everything in, find your test statistic, find your critical value, and let's come back after that. So pause the video, please. So your test statistic ends up being very close to 0, negative 0.57. And your critical value, again, we're focusing on a 5% significance here with 7 degrees of freedom. So when you put that in your calculator or look it up on your chart, you're going to end up with negative or positive 2.36. Now ask yourself, is this a reject or fail to reject, and what does that mean in this situation? Again, pause the video, ask yourself, and then come back and check. Hopefully you agree that we're in the non-critical region here, so we fail to reject the null. Since we fail to reject the null, this idea up here, we can't necessarily say it's untrue. It may very well be, but in this case the data does not give us enough evidence to confirm this. Again, we're not saying it's not the case, we're just saying there's not enough evidence to say that there's a difference. After this, we'll look at another example.